Hello children, welcome to the economics class. I am Suma, economics lecturer, Gopalswamy PU College, Mysuru. In this session, let us learn and discuss about the topics related to the second chapter, that is national income accounting. As you all know, under the part 2 macroeconomics, you have 4 chapters. The first one is introduction to macroeconomics. Second one is national income accounting. Third one is money and banking. And the fourth one is the determination of income. So, the second lesson discusses about the national income accounting, that is the calculation of national income. How is the national income determined by a country? What are all the factors that are involved in the composition of national income? So, here some of the basic concepts are learnt today. First, let us see about what are all the topics that are covered here under national income accounting. That is, the functioning of a simple economy is discussed at first. How the economy of a country works. What are all the basic inputs that are under the economical units of the functioning of a simple economy. Here, the functioning is denoted by again the 4 important factors of the society, that is the 4 important sectors. They are the government sector, household sector, consumer sector, as well as the sectors related to the foreign exchange or foreign trade. The simple economy functions in such way that it contributes to the welfare of the country and it enhances the economical development and growth. The economy involves the household sector and the government sector as a very important factors of the production, as a very important factor for the economical growth of a country. The household sector supplies the labor force, wherein the government sector supplies all the rest of the factors of production. So, with these help of these government sector and household sector, the consumers again who are the part of these consumers are the parts of these household sector only buy the goods that are produced with the assistance or interdependence of these household sector as well as the government sector, and again these consumers are also the buyers of the product as well as they are the producers also. So, a society is comprised by individual economical units as well as the economical units in large. So, each and every single house is a unit, is an economical unit of the one society, and each every society is the major economical units of a simple economy. So, the next one is the calculation of GDP, and GDP as the welfare indicator of a country. GDP is nothing but the gross domestic product, that is the sum total of the total amount of goods and services, goods produced and services generated over a period of year is called as the GDP. GDP is the true welfare indicator of a country because the GDP takes into account the total amount of final goods produced. It does not consider the intermediate goods. So, when we calculate the national income and when we calculate the GDP, we consider the final goods, and here we come to know about the real situation of the economy of a country, whether the country is progressive or in any of the sectors the country is not working well, and what are all the inputs required for the growth of that particular sector, and what are all the efforts that should be put into the development of that particular sector, because there are innumerous production enterprises in a country, and these production enterprises supply different kinds of goods, and there are again numerous service generating agencies. That is, India being a largest service provider in these days houses lots of service oriented enterprises, and the services generated through these enterprises generate revenue to the government, and therefore the GDP is one which is a welfare indicator which involves both the total number of goods produced out of different enterprises and the total number of services generated out of different service agencies. And this GDP is going to measure the status, economical status in relation to the other countries, and the consistent analysis is being going on about the development and growth of the economy of a country. The third one is the three important sectors of an economy is studied under the national income accounting, and how they are interrelated and how are these three sectors interdependent. You all know the three important sectors of an economy are the primary sector, the secondary sector and the tertiary sector. The primary sector is one which involves the natural resources for production. The secondary sector is one which transforms the raw materials into finished products, and the tertiary sector is one which is a big service provider. So, the first primary sector is one which cultivates cotton. So, cotton is grown on farmlands, and this cotton is brought into secondary sector where this cotton is transformed into cloth with the help of machineries or equipments. So, primary sector provides the raw material, secondary sector transforms these raw materials into finished products, and the service sector or the tertiary sector supplies the necessary goods which are required for the well-being of the society. So, cotton from the primary sector is converted into cloth in the secondary sector, and this cloth is converted into a garment or a ready-made dress through the tertiary sector. So, all these are interdependent. Like this, almost all the sectors are contributing to the growth and development of an economy. So, therefore, all these three sectors contribution is considered into while calculating the national income of a country. The next one is stages of production and transformation. As I said, there are different stages which are involved in the production as well as transformation of raw materials into finished products. In these different stages only we come across the intermediate goods and the final goods. The intermediate goods are those which are the finished products of one industry but are the raw materials for another goods industry. So, therefore, all these stages are dealt with and learnt here under the national income accounting calculation. The stages involve different types, maybe from farm to from being a showcase product, or the shelf life of that product is decided only after it is involved or it undergoes with some process related to the secondary sector. The farm cultivates the products, the agricultural products are farm based products, but when you go to any mall you can see those products which are converted into different types with the help of these secondary industries. And you can see the changed format or changed pattern or changed utility of those farm products in the shelves of these malls. So, a tomato, for example, tomato that is cultivated in the farm is a agro product. Here it is grown on the primary sector, but when it enters to the secondary sector with the help of additional machineries and equipments, it is converted into ketchup or sauce. And in the service sector, each and every other marketing agency or malls or any retail shop keeps those tomato ketchups or sauces in their shelves so that the consumer can readily use it. So, these products that undergo different stages of production ultimately will reach the consumer with an intention of final usage, final utility. So, next one is, here we learn some of the basic concepts of macroeconomics. The macroeconomics under the national income accounting teaches you about different types of basic concepts related to the types of goods and how are they converted into another types of goods, transformation of the goods, and everything is studied here. So, here some of the types of goods are discussed today, and they are, the first one is final goods, second one is intermediate goods, the third one is consumer goods, and the fourth one is capital goods. So, now let us see about the first one, the final goods. What do you mean by final goods? Final goods, as the name itself suggests, these are all the goods which are ready for final usage. These have crossed all the boundary lines of production and no further production activity is required to make this a utility product. So, the final goods are those which do not involve any further process of production. They have crossed the boundary line of production. So, these final goods are ready for use. These final goods are ready for use and no need to wait for the further processing of them or further transformation of these goods. Whatever you have bought is ready for consumption. For example, sweets you can take. The sweets are final goods. The sugar is an intermediate good there, but sugar is a final good of a sugar factory. But when it comes to the sweets manufacturing, sugar is an intermediate good using which the sweet is prepared. So, that particular sweet you buy in a bakery or in a sweet stall is the final good which is ready for consumption. The second one is intermediate goods. These are the goods which did not cross the complete boundary line of production. Still more processing is required and further production activity is yet to be done to make this intermediate good convert into a final good. So, the milk is a final good when a household purchases it. In the morning, it purchases it for personal consumption. Any house or any family purchases milk for final consumption, but wherein the same milk becomes an intermediate goods when you go to any tea stall or coffee stall. There in a tea stall, the milk whatever that is purchased from a family becomes the raw material for the production of tea or coffee, and using this intermediate good, that tea stall owner produces tea or he prepares tea and he sells it and he makes profit out of this raw material, that is milk. So, at some situations the intermediate goods become final goods. At some situations the final goods play the role of intermediate goods. So, now let us see about the difference between the intermediate goods as well as final goods. The first and foremost difference is that the intermediate goods remain within the boundary line of production. That is, they are yet to undergo some process of production. They did not come over the boundary line of production because they are the intermediate goods and they are the raw materials for another goods, and when they undergo the process of production, finally they convert themselves into the final goods. Here the final goods are those which have crossed the boundary line of production. The second difference is the intermediate goods are not ready for final use. As I said, the assembling industry you have all seen. In your other lessons you have learnt about assembly line industries. The vehicles or any two-wheeler or a cycle is manufactured through assembly line industry, wherein a bell of the cycle is manufactured from some other industry, or some other tire is manufactured from another industry, and all these are intermediate goods, and they are not ready for final use, because keeping one cycle bell you cannot go and you cannot ride a cycle, or keeping one tire of cycle you cannot ride a cycle. So these are all the goods which are not ready for final use. They are the intermediate goods, and the final goods are those which are ready for final use. After the assembling of all these cycle bell, the brake, the tires, everything, the cycle becomes ready for final use. The third difference is these intermediate goods are used as raw materials for the production of other goods. As I said, the milk is an intermediate good in the production of tea in a hotel or in a tea stall. So, they are used as raw materials for the production of other goods, wherein the final goods are not used for further production of another goods. When once the tea is produced, it is over. It is the ready to serve good or ready to consume good, and you cannot make anything else out of the tea. So, tea that is prepared with the intermediate good of milk is the final good. Fourth one is the intermediate goods may be resold for profit. This can be seen in a wholesale bookshop or in a bookshop where they buy the old books for lesser amount and they sell it for a little amount of profit. Here these books are called as intermediate goods which can be resold for profit. One person doesn't want those books and he sells it for 50 rupees, and another person will need the book and this shop owner, bookseller, sells it for 75 rupees. So he keeps a profit of 25 rupees. Here the books that are resold are called as the intermediate goods. The next one is the final goods are not resold for profit. Fifth difference between intermediate goods and final goods is that the value is yet to be added to the intermediate goods. As I said, milk is the raw material in a tea stall. The value should be enhanced, because just if you give milk in the name of tea or coffee, it is not a final good and it is not going to satisfy the demand of the consumer. Therefore, the value is yet to be added. For milk, you need to add tea powder, sugar, and you have to heat it and you have to supply it in a good cup. So, these are all the values that should be added to milk to convert it into a ready product, that is tea or coffee. Final good, no further value required to be added. For tea, you don't have to add any further value because it is already completely value added product. The sixth difference is intermediate goods. The expenditure that are made on intermediate goods are called as the consumption expenditure, wherein the expenditure that is made in the preparation of final goods is called as final expenditure. The next one is the intermediate goods are not included in the estimation of national income. Intermediate goods are not considered when a country's national income is being calculated, wherein the final goods are included in the estimation of national income. The national income of a country takes into consideration the final goods which are readily available in the market. So, with the help of these final goods only, the sum total of the goods produced over a period of year is considered in the calculation of GDP. So, with this I have taught you about the intermediate goods and final goods, and hope you have all understood the difference between the intermediate goods and final goods. In our next session, let us discuss about few more types of goods of this national income accounting calculation. Hope you have all understood. Thank you.